Hey guys, what's going on? It's Coach Frank and Bobby Bottles back here on the in the hot seat here. We're fresh about 24 hours after the let's call it collapse, shall we, of the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League Wildcard Series to the Seattle Mariners. And listen, folks, we live in Toronto. We know what it's like. It seems like every year it happens, whether it's the Leafs and now the Jays. We're kind of used to it now. We're not really happy about it, but this is the chance where we usually like to call these a post mortem. We kind of give it some time, let things kind of fizzle, and pretty much wear our heart on our sleeve. So buckle up because I got a feeling this is going to be fantastic. I'm going to take a back seat to this, and I'm going to I'm going to hand it over to Bobby on this one because I've been looking forward to this one. I just wanted to set him up, but I hope you all enjoy this. So Bobby, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. I hope you had a nice trip in Broadway there. So you're back. I know you. This has been just eating away at you. So I'm gonna hand you the floor, and off you go, man.
I went to a Michelin star restaurant yesterday and the food didn't even taste as good because I had such a bad taste in my mouth from that game. Uh,
And and
Let's
and, and folks, he doesn't mean that they sell Michelin tires there. I just wanna point
the
that out.
food was delicious there though, even with that sour taste. Let's preface this whole conversation. So we all know the story. Jays up 4-0, 8-1 in the 6th, blow the game. We're going to hit on a lot of points today. Let's preface this whole thing by saying you can agree and I can agree the Blue Jays were not winning the World Series this year. This was not a World Series team. They have a lot of great pieces, but this is a flawed team. And that's fine. Like, there's a window for this team. They've got 3-4 years. The window's open, but they are a flawed team. I've been watching baseball a whole long time, and I've been saying it for quite some time that I don't like analytics. I think you're an idiot if you don't use it, but I also think you're an idiot if that's all you use. And that yesterday was pure analytics. And I don't know where this theory came from that analytics wins. Analytics just lost them an 8-1 game. I didn't think I would get more mad than after watching John Schneider's post-game press conference with him saying he wouldn't have done a thing differently, which tells me A, that's just dumb. B, that he is a slave to analytics. At some point, Frank, what do we say you have to kind of go off a feel? You can't just listen to numbers and stats because this is not a game played on a video. It's not a video game. This game is not played on paper. It's not played with numbers. This is grown human beings playing this game. This is men and women playing this game. This is a grown up sport. At what point do we say you have to find that balance between feel and numbers and analytics?
Oh. The calm before the
I haven't
storm.
even we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg. I've got a
See,
page.
okay, Rob. So just the first thing on that, you can make the same comparison to hockey. You know, you have coaches that do the eye test. You have coaches that use analytics. They come up in line combinations and who to use in certain like power play, penalty kill, and you have guys like old school Daryl Sutter who doesn't use them at all, understands they're around, but really doesn't use them, and sure enough, he becomes coach of the year, right? So yeah, man, there's really no middle ground for people that love it or hate it. But in this case, whatever happened, just going with your gut. You know what I mean? Like it's just that we even said it before, Rob. We like I know how I feel. Baseball managers are just there. They're not really a key part of the game. John Schneider, as well as he did, made himself part of the game when he really didn't have to, and that's saying a lot. So, anyways, all yours.
I mean, I've said this for a long time, and this is how people need to treat analytics. Analytics is not the cake. Analytics is the icing on the cake. If you were to make a cake and it was purely icing, it's not going to be good because it's going to be just icing. You need that solid base, which is the eye test. You need that balance of, hey, let's go with the feel. For me, that was the worst managed game I've ever seen. And maybe I'm being, a little bit too much in the moment. I've got 3 or 4 critical, and I mean not even minor mistakes, critical mistakes that I really have to question. Number one, and before we go on to this, I have something else written down here. There is a giant rule in sports. It is do not do what the other team wants you to do. And John Schneider did this 3 times. The first one, number one, taking out Gossman. Guess we're all gonna agree. And this is not like a hindsight is 2020 thing. This is not like a well, we know now. No. In the moment, I think a lot of people were saying, what is he doing? I can tell you this because I watched the game down on ESPN, and I can't remember. It was Tim Kirchin and I don't know what's the wonderful woman that does Sunday Night Baseball. Geez, I'm blanking on her name.
Same here.
Michelle, I forget her name. We'll get the name at some point. They were in the moment being like, we don't know what John Schneider's doing here. He is taking out a guy that was dominating, that was in complete control. They put in a soft throwing lefty and put a guy on the side that he wanted to hit. He wanted to hit right hand. He's a power right bat. It was in the moment. I've never heard commentators act like this, but they were like, the color guy was like, what do you guys think of this move? As it was happening, they're like, this is not a good move. And then of course he throws the wild pitch and then the 3-run home run. It didn't make any sense to me. Had he pulled him, there were 3 straight hits. So the bases loaded, nobody out. Had he pulled him there, I would have said, I get it. I understand. That makes sense. But then he goes out, and I believe he strikes out the next guy, and then he gets a grounder, or vice versa. He gets a grounder and then strikeout. So you've got 2 outs. The crowd is fired up. This guy he's retired. The batter coming up, Santana. He had retired Santana already, I believe twice. The crowd is fired up. They're going crazy. No out to 2 out. No damage so far. And then you go out and you pull him. You pull him with all the momentum, everything going on. Crowd's fired up. Now you go, boom, make yourself a part of the game. Crowd sits down. Now we wait for Meza. What's the first pitch? Boom, wild pitch. Run scores. You could feel what was happening. I don't know about you, Frank. There was that. Maybe it's the Toronto in me, but there was that feeling in my gut that something bad was going to happen. And it did in a big way.
Yeah. And I think, there was some disappointment in Gossman. He didn't want to come out. Gossman didn't want to come out. And what's he going to say after? I knew it was going to happen. He just, take the subtle hints from the interview where Gossman says, tough to watch. Tough to watch. Yeah. No shit. As in saying, I shouldn't have come out. Should at least let me finish the inning. I shouldn't have come out. You would have set up Bass, then Romano. You know what I mean? Like that's how I would, or any combination of Garcia.
Anything.
Doesn't matter. But yeah.
The tide had turned at that point. Like that was a huge home run. And that was number one. I think we all are going to say, hey, big time mistake. And let's go ahead and ask the Mariners. If you said, hey, Seattle, do you want Gossman to stay in, or would you rather have Meza come in? What are they going to answer? Meza. So, boom, mistake number one. Number two, a really small one, but nobody's going to talk about it. The Jays are up 8-1. Whit Merrifield gets smoked in the head, so he comes out of the game. He put in Raimel Tapia. They have a elite, once-in-a-generation outfield talent in Jackie Bradley Jr. Cannot hit for a lick, but you're up 7 runs. Doesn't it make sense to put him in left field? Now you have Springer and him. You have 2 center fielders in the outfield. You don't need any more runs. It's about defending the lead now. Tapia had 2 balls dropped on him. They were shifted. I get it. But Jackie Bradley Jr. is a much better outfielder. He's a much better defensive outfielder. He's arguably the best outfield player of the last 10 years. I mean, this guy patrolled the Boston, one of the biggest outfields in Boston in center field. It was such a small thing, but I was sitting there going, why Raimel Tapia? What do you owe him? The guy hasn't been hitting. He's defensively okay. I thought it was a massive miss, and I really want to know, had Jackie Bradley Jr. been in there, maybe he gets to those balls. And I'll go with my last one. I got one more. So speaking of Raimel, there's two out. I believe one on. I believe it was runner on first, if I'm not mistaken, in the ninth inning. You have a guy in Tapia who's got like a 280 OBP, maybe like a 240 batting average. Where are the analytics to say maybe this isn't the guy to bat in this situation? A guy that gets on literally less than once every 3 at bats. This is the guy you want up there. You're a numbers guy, right? We've established they love numbers. You've got Gabriel Moreno sitting on the bench. His batting average was higher than Raimel Tapia's on base percentage. At what point do you say maybe we pinch hit for this guy that was 0 for 6 in the series, 0 for 5 at that point, that is not known to get on base? Where are the stats and numbers there? I think he made mistakes that Seattle's like, yeah, we wanted you to do that. And it goes ahead and breaks the rule. Do not do what the opponent wants you to do. These are fundamental mistakes. The players deserve a ton of blame. I got names here. Meza sucked. Garcia sucked. Bass really sucked. Romano, great pitcher, but wasn't his best out. They deserve blame. Because I don't like blaming the manager, but at some point, you've got to wear this. If I'm the manager, I go up there and say, I had a bad day. That this one's on me. I'll take this one. The Springer Bichette play, another huge turning point. So the Jays are up 9-6, bases loaded. What's wrong with just letting that ball bounce? It looked like Springer was playing deep, which means he was playing no doubles defense. I don't know. I couldn't see. I'm not at the game. But basically, no doubles defense is we play back. We don't let anything get to the wall. We protect basically the run at first because that was the most important run, correct? That's the tying run. You have 2 guys. Bichette went about 100 feet and then dove at a ball going backwards, which I'm not a shortstop. I never played shortstop, but that doesn't seem like the smartest play to me. And then you have Springer sliding in. Was that not like unfundamental baseball, which we've complained about this team for the last couple of years, that this team is unfundamentally sound defensively? I know you want to make that play. Don't you just let that drop, get it in, keep the runner at third, 9-8 game. You've got your closer on the mound. You've got who you want out there. 2 outs still. That was a huge mistake, and the players deserve blame for this. And I you hope Springer's okay, but like these are not championship plays. This is not the Guardians. The Guardians and the Rays played 15 innings. Nobody scored a run. Playing fundamental ball, and these guys. Frank, it was so frustrating to watch. It was so, and this was a storm. For this to happen, this is not just, hey, the Jays played bad managerial decisions, good hitting by the Mariners, who, by the way, are the worst batting average team since 2006 to make the playoffs, and not 2006, 1906. The worst batting average to make the playoffs since 1906. This ain't exactly the 27 Yankees. But they deserve credit. But there were a lot of lucky, close inches plays. And it was just so frustrating to watch.
Okay. Well, take
I'm
a
out
breath.
of breath here.
There's a lot to process there, Robbie.
I tried to let you jump in.
No, Rob, I don't think there's anything else I can add to that other than the fact, we're disappointed. We're in shock still.
Yeah.
You can dissect this any which way, whatever. But what I didn't like is the fact they had, they had 2 innings of 4 runs. Like talking about like can't limit the damage. You know what I mean? Um, and I'll even go back. I I said this at the deadline. I was I was not. Yeah, I know they didn't really add much in terms of offense and such, but Merrifield was a nice addition, but where they really needed to strengthen, it wasn't there. And at the end of the day, the bullpen let them down. I'm not really talking about Romano because how many times have you seen him in a 6-out situation? You know, maybe 5. I know it's only one more, but still, it's just you're putting them in situations where the percentages are not on your side. You know, hey, the best time to put him in a 6 save situation. Hey, why not game 2 elimination game? That, where we're losing momentum. Sure, let's do that. I just that's what kind of really bothered me. Just um, situations where you're not giving your team the best chance to win. And again, Rob, we can sit here for hours, but a 7-run lead after the 6th inning is inexcusable, absolutely inexcusable. So where do they go from here, Rob? Like, is that alone not? Could that alone cost Schneider a chance to come back as a full-time manager next year?
No, I think he's coming back for sure now. I got to think that Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro were so happy watching that game, thinking, wow, look at this analytics. That was analytics to a T. And ESPN, the crew was Tim Kirchin and Jessica Mendoza, who Jessica Mendoza is fantastic. They did nothing but question John Schneider for 5 freaking from the 6th inning on. They were like, well, that's an odd decision. That's an odd decision. I don't know about that move. I don't know about this move. They spent 5 innings just being like, what are these guys doing? It was like they wanted to give up this game. I just look at this and say, can we finally sit there and say, can we stop pretending like the Oakland A's redefine baseball? I love the movie Moneyball. I like analytics. It does not win you World Series. I think back to 2014. I don't know if you remember this, but 2014, we have the Giants, we have the Royals, we have the Giants who Madison Bumgarner on 2 days rest goes out in the 5th inning on 2 days rest and throws 5 freaking shutout innings of baseball, 60, 70 plus pitches, totally against analytics. But they won. It got them a World Series. They didn't listen to the numbers of, hey, you can only pitch him. He shouldn't have even been pitching that game. Analytics would say, no, he's got give him a few days off. Then the baseball nerds would be like, no, he needs 5 days rest. No, he went out there and he pitched. Bruce Bochy made a gut decision. Didn't go to his closer. Just left this guy and let his horse roll. So at some point, do we say, maybe do the Blue Jays consider going against this analytics stuff? Not ignoring it, but just saying, let's not just use analytics. Let's go off a feel. Let's go off an eye test. There's a flow to games that numbers will never understand. You can't quantify leadership in a dugout. You can't quantify leadership in a dressing room. We've been in dressing rooms. You can't quantify what a leader will do for a hockey team, a football team, a baseball team. How do numbers quantify that? So maybe can we say, let's just use analytics sparingly. It's obviously done a good job of getting the players, but I think first things first, they've got to reevaluate that. Secondly, I got a real question for you. They've got a big decision at catcher, and I've been for the last year saying you've got to move Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen, Jano, is the guy that's got to go. Does any part of you say Gabriel Moreno is a high-end prospect? Would any part of you considering moving off of him? One of these 3 has got to go this offseason. Moreno's proven he's ready to play. You have 3 really good catchers. Would you consider, well, one of them's moving. Who would you move? And would you consider moving maybe Moreno because the price is going to be infinitely higher on him than it would be on Jansen?
Well, listen, if anybody has high value right now, it's got to be Kirk, just from the All-Star year, the batting average. I don't know if and I want to say this the right way because some people have been touchy about this, and I don't want Alec Manoah coming to my house and knocking down my door. But what's the longevity like on a guy with the frame or the stature of Alejandro Kirk? You know, is he gonna is he that every is he can he be that everyday catcher? Could you see a better tandem with him and Moreno? I think with the bat, yeah. What can you get for a guy like Danny Jansen? That's the question. What's the return on a guy like Danny Jansen? You got to look at your holes. What can you fill that's going to give you the best return, but also not weaken your position? You know, they had a lot of still Rob, a lot of good prospects coming in. You got Moreno, you got Alo Lopez, you got Arelvis Martinez. I know they're infielders and such, but I know they had Moreno playing like what 7 positions in the last game, whatever it was. Yeah, Rob, it's Jansen for me. I think just the way they're trending, and I look at both sides of the plate. I think Moreno at some point is going to take over. Like I think he's just too good. He's too good. So
I think they're both going to be in the lineup. I mean, Kirk is an exceptional hitter. I could argue Kirk is the best catcher in the league. Now, I think Moreno's going to be better because, he's an elite talent, but this team is set up really nicely. So you look at their starting pitching for next year. You have Manoah. In my opinion, I don't think I'd trade Manoah for anybody in the league. He's untradeable. I mean, even if the White Sox call and say, we'll give you Dylan Cease, I'm not trading Manoah for any starting pitcher. You have Gossman, who, again, outside of maybe Dylan Cease, the only pitcher that I would trade him for. But you've got 2 really high-end starting pitchers. You're going to have Barrios on this staff. Kikuchi's going to be here somewhere. I think it's the bullpen, and I think you can get a nice player for Danny Jansen. And again, watching the ESPN crew, they loved Tapia. I don't know why. And they loved Jansen. And guess what? What people don't talk about is those primetime games. People are watching those games. It's not like a regular season game where you might catch it, you might not. Everybody's watching this time of year. And maybe there are owners and GMs that say, we'll take Danny Jansen. He's still young, 27, 20. I believe he'll be 28 next year. He's got big time pop. He's got 20 home runs in him. Good, he's 260, great defensive catcher. I think you can parlay him into a bullpen, a high-end bullpen leverage guy. And I think that's the biggest need of this team. The rest of it, of people saying, well, defensively they're not great. They're not blowing this team up. This is who they're rocking with. And this is a good squad to be rocking with. I mean, you've got Guerrero, you've got Bichette, you've got Springer. You've got a lot of good pieces here. This is the team they're going forward with. The bullpen needs help. I think you need a bona fide guy, because for as good as Bass was this year, for as pretty good as Garcia was this year, you saw what happened in these big moments. I mean, Bass had a 1.5 ERA. Boom, gets hit hard, and 3 straight hit. This guy doesn't even get. I don't think he recorded an out. I think you need a high-end guy. I think you need an 8th inning. If you can get a 9th inning guy and move Romano to the setup, something where. But I think that's the first thing is the bullpen. I think the bullpen needs help. I was just watching the Mets game. There's a rumor that, not even a rumor, they're saying DeGrom's going to opt out. Now that I don't know if I sit here and go, maybe that's the play. Maybe you go out and sign Jacob DeGrom. You give him whatever he wants, $400 million over like 5 years, 6 years, whatever the heck the guy wants, and then you really load up that rotation. But I think that's more of a pipe dream. Bo Bichette. I've maintained. I don't know how long we're gonna do this. I think Bo Bichette is fantastic. I think he is super driven. I think he puts in a ton of work, but I think it'd be just so much easier to slide him to second base. I don't understand why they have to force feed him as a shortstop. Frank, we just watched a generation of Alex Ovechkin, one of the greatest goal scorers, maybe the greatest goal scorer of all time. At no point did they say you got to play center. It's like, bro, you're a forward, play the wing, don't worry about your zone, just do whatever you can, and just score freaking goals. Bo Bichette is going to be one of the best hitters. Is already is one of the best hitters in the game. Why not slide him to second? It's a little bit easier. Bring in a defensive shortstop. We saw what Matt Chapman did at third. I mean, was okay with the bat, but defensively, the guy is a beast. He locked down that third. Why not lock down that whole left side of the infield and just move Bichette to second? He's still going to get paid. He's still playing he's still playing a middle infield spot. Am I crazy on this?
No, I agree with you. I think, there was rumors that he was a little his ego took a little bit hit when they brought in Marcus Semien, and they had kind of like the I don't want to play second base, and they made Semien, and then what happened? Semien had a career year, gets a big contract, goes to Texas. No, that's their problem now. But understand, you set up a guy to succeed. Then I look at how they set a precedence. Vladdy Guerrero was adamant that he wanted to play third base.
Mm-hmm.
They tried it. Wasn't the greatest thing. But what did they say to him? Are you going to be David Ortiz and just DH? Or can we teach you how to play first base and help you succeed? And sure enough, Rob, he's actually become a very credible.
He's even better. He's even better there.
So I don't know, Bo. Take the hint, pal.
Like, at what point did we say maybe he's an even better second baseman than he's a shortstop? He doesn't have the biggest arm. Like that's what nobody's talking about. Like a lot of these third basemen, you play that left side of the infield, any ball deep in the hole, you've got to have a huge arm. Why not bring in a guy that can play that position? And it just takes so much pressure off him. You say, Bo, you're going to play second. You're going to hit second. You don't even have to worry about the defense. Just keep working on the hitting because the guy is an elite bat. And ego, you know what? I'm a guy where the team kind of comes first. You have control of him. You move him to second. You don't like it? Well, if you don't want to play, don't play, bud. I don't know what to tell you. But I think that's something people have said, well, he was okay there this year. All right. Like okay is 92 and 70. And you're going to be in the wild card game again next year. Lastly, Ricky Tiedemann. That's the guy that we're going to be watching for. That's my new Jordan Groshans. I think Tiedemann's going to be in this lineup next year. I think he's going to be in a starting rotation. I think he's going to be a beast. I called Manoah I believe it was 2 years ago. I said I really like Manoah. I think he's going to be a beast. I think Tiedemann's going to be eerily similar. We'll see. It's just a guess. But outside of that, this team is still positioned really well. And I really liked Buck Martinez calling them out kind of at the end of the year about kind of fooling around and joking. And that's the one thing that they kind of seem very lax at times, which is good. But you also have to really be dialed in. But I don't know where else you go from here, Frank. You've got these pieces. You're not going to move off of these guys. It's almost just like just keep trying to tinker and trying to build. And just this was a perfect example of you've got to win the division next year. You can't put yourself in this position. We're about to see, I don't know if the Mets have lost, but at least 3 of the teams, the higher seeds have gone home. If St. Louis was the higher seed gone, Toronto was the higher seed gone, the Mets were the higher seed gone, and I believe the Guardians were the only high seed to win. You get into a 2 or 3 game series, anything can happen. Anything. So.
Wow. There it is. Do you feel better?
I do a little bit. I feel like this was relief. I wish I could have done like talk radio with Toronto fans and just talk to people.
I feel bad for your wife because that whole ride home must have been a lot of Bo Bichette, John Schneider, Tim Mesa. Like what couple talks about Tim Mesa? That must have been a long trip back.
I told her, I said, I said, my night's ruined. It's ruined. It's ruined. We're in one of the best cities in the world, New York City.
As long as I've known you, were you not a Mariners fan for a small, brief period of time?
I was a Ken Griffey Jr. fan.
Okay, fair enough. I love Griffey. Okay, I want to just clarify that. I just want to make sure.
I kind of like the Mariners, but I was more just like a Griffey guy. I've bounced around. I've bounced around from team to team. I'm now landed on the Jays. I used to be a Yankees fan. I still like the Yankees, but
I've now landed on the Dodgers. All right, folks, there it is. We love these postmortems. We don't when they lose, but we just like them because there's our chance to vent. And Bobby, that was an epic, epic rant. So, guys, tell us what you think. If we're off or we're missing something, we'd love to hear what you guys had to say. Where did they go wrong? Where else did we maybe miss? If there was a player that we wanted to focus on and tell us what you thought, drop us a line on the YouTube down below. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll be back next week because I'm sure there's a lot of football, a lot of hockey talk. But this one was all baseball. So Bobby, thank you.
I hope I'd love to hear if they think John Schneider's coming back next year. This is going to be an interesting. Losing creates storylines more than winning does. So it's going to be some drama here over the next few months.
Bring back Gibby.